Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the pelvis and the importance of the pelvis. So the pelvis is such a fundamental part of really effective and efficient movements. And why this is because the pelvis has attached to it all the most powerful muscles of our body. So the pelvis really is the power center of our body. If you think about it, right, the pelvis has the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the iliacus, the psoas muscles, and the lower back all attach into the pelvis. So in order to have really powerful movements and really effective and efficient movements, and even movements with fluidity and grace, we really need to be using the pelvis to its full extent. We need to be utilizing the pelvis. And so this lesson is about how you can learn to use your pelvis more efficiently and effectively. Okay, so here we're going to do 6 different movement variations or 6 different exercises to help you learn to move your pelvis more efficiently. So first, find a spot to lie down, either on a mat or on the floor, somewhere where it's comfortable. And I just want to remind you to really do these movements slowly and gently. It's not about how powerful we do the movements. It's about how slow and gently we go, and using our awareness to pay attention to what we feel as we do the movements. So first, just take a moment and lie down on your mat with your legs long and your arms long. And just for a moment, just feel your pelvis. Feel how your lower back feels on the mat or on the floor. Feel the contact of your pelvis. Does the right side feel in more contact with the floor, or does the left side feel in more contact with the floor? Just get a general sense for yourself at this moment. Okay, and so now let's start with the first movement here. So bend your knees, put your feet standing. And you're just going to start with a very small movement, but what you're going to do is you're going to just roll your pelvis up. So you're going to detach the tailbone a little bit from the floor. Roll your pelvis up so your lower back will actually make more contact with the floor, and you'll pull in your abdomen muscles a little bit. So you're rolling your pelvis up and then letting it slowly come back to neutral. So just to where your starting position of the pelvis was. So you're just rolling the pelvis up slowly and then coming back to neutral. And as you do this, just pay attention to if the movement gets translated up through your spine at all. Do you feel your chin moving up or down? If you feel something, that's great. If not, that's also okay. Don't try forcing it to move. Don't try forcing your chin to move up or down. Just roll the pelvis up and then let it come back to neutral. You feel you contract your abdominals to roll the pelvis up. The lower back rounds, and then you come back to neutral. The tailbone detaches from the floor. Feel what you're doing with your feet. Are you helping at all with your feet? And make sure you're going nice and slow. Okay, now let's just start and do the second movement. So the second movement now is rolling your pelvis the opposite way, rolling it downwards. So here now you're going to arch your lower back. You're going to push your abdominal muscles, your lower belly actually out slightly. And you're going to roll your pelvis down so the tailbone actually presses more into the floor. And then come back to neutral. And again, here, feel, go slow. Don't go to the maximum range of motion for you. Don't go to your full range. Just start where it's soft and easy, and you can really keep the movement really easy throughout the whole range, and you're not going to where you're really efforting with it. And again, here, feel, can you sense your head moving up and down, or your chin moving up and down? And so you can, when you practice these movements on your own, you can do these movements around 20 repetitions. Each variation is perfect. And again, it's not so much the quantity, but it's really the quality. If you're really focusing and feeling the rolling down of the pelvis, feeling your abdomen be free, and then coming back to neutral, making it almost luxurious to do the movement. Okay, and now combine the two movements. So now you're going to roll your pelvis up. So this is now rolling the pelvis up and down, combining the two movements. So one time you arch the lower back, and then the next time you do the movement, you round the lower back. One time you pull the abdominals in, you use the abdominals to roll your pelvis up. And then you actually have to really let your abdominal muscles go to really let your lower back work when you roll your pelvis down. And so, like this is about learning to use your pelvis, but remember how I was saying that attached to the pelvis is all these powerful muscles, and we need to learn how to organize ourselves where in any direction of movement of the pelvis, the muscles are working harmoniously, right? They aren't working against each other. So you roll the pelvis up and down, going nice and slow. And again, can you feel the force of the pelvis being transmitted through the spine to your head, where you actually feel your head moving up and down? And now let's do the third variation here. So now interlace your fingers and put them behind your head. So interlace your fingers, put them behind your head, at the point of contact where your skull was lying on the floor. That's where you put your hands behind on your head. And now lift your head with the elbows pointed towards the ceiling. Lift your head with the help of the arms and just hold it in the ceiling wherever it's comfortable. And now here, start with a small movement. Do that same movement, but now the only difference is you're keeping your head with the help of the arms up in the air. Now you're going to roll your pelvis up, detaching the tailbone from the floor, using the abdominal muscles, and then let that go. And do that a few times where you roll your pelvis up and look down with your eyes, and then let the pelvis go. Keep looking down in between your legs with your eyes. So you roll the pelvis up. Feel how your spine goes into a complete C shape. It goes into flexion. Rolling the pelvis up. Feel how the contact shifts on your lower back, right? So when you go from neutral to rolling the pelvis up, the contact moves up your lower back. Feel how different parts of your back press into the floor as you do the movement. You use your abdominals. And now do the opposite movement. So now the fourth movement variation, the fourth exercise, is now rolling your pelvis downwards. So like we did. So now you're keeping the head in the air though, right? So keeping the head where it is. You're going to now arch your lower back, free the abdomen, use the lower back muscles to arch your lower back and roll the pelvis down so your tailbone actually presses into the floor. And then come back to neutral. And again here, make sure it's easy. Do really soft, gentle, easy movements here. And the slower, the better. And pay attention to now this time as you roll the pelvis down, as you free the abdomen, the head has a tendency actually to go, and the arms have a tendency to go down towards the floor. And now combine the two movements. So now you're going to roll the pelvis up, detaching the tailbone from the floor, using the abdomen muscles. And then you're going to roll the pelvis down, pressing the tailbone into the floor, arching the lower back, and letting the abdominal muscles go. And so you combine the two movements and feel what happens with your head when you roll your pelvis down. The head goes down towards the floor, and then when you roll your pelvis up, the head actually lifts towards the ceiling more. So one time the head moves down a little bit, and let it move down and up slightly. So you're feeling again the relationship between the head and spine, and the head and the pelvis. And just leave it alone and rest. Let your legs lie long, bring your hands out, just have your arms long, and just rest. And again, just feel for yourself now how your pelvis is making contact with the floor. How does your lower back feel? How's the contact of your lower back? Has that changed at all for you? And again, at home or whenever you do these movements, do these 6 variations, each one about 20 times, and go really slow, make it really easy, and use subtlety. So always reduce the force. If you feel yourself forcing at any moment, stop it and do less. Restart the movement and do less with less force. Okay, so now we're doing the 5th movement. So now bend your knee, just the right knee though this time, and put the right foot standing. Keep the left leg long. And this time you're going to start with a small movement again. You're going to press through the right foot and roll the pelvis over to the left. So you're going to lift the right side of the pelvis, press through your right foot, roll your pelvis to the left, and then come back. So this time, just actually more of the right side of your lower back has to work powerfully in order to lift the pelvis up. And here, I want you to feel how you really have to let the abdominal go in order for your back to really be able to engage, for your lower back to really, those muscles, if the lower back muscles, in order to really powerfully engage, the abdominals have to lengthen and let go. And feel how you're rolling your pelvis over to the left. Feel how you can help with actually pressing through the right foot, rolling the pelvis, and feel your left foot, how it actually rolls more onto the outer border as you roll the pelvis. And just have awareness that you don't drop your right knee in, because what we're wanting to do is move the pelvis around the hip joint. So just do that a few more times. Easy, soft movements, small movements, and you can gradually get bigger. And at home, as you explore this more, you can continue exploring it, and as long as you're just really chasing the quality of the movement, remember that awareness is the agent of change. So if you're paying really close attention and you're really feeling yourself, it will have a way more of an impact than just doing the movements mindlessly and not really caring or paying attention to them at all. They won't really have an impact on or a change, but if you really pay attention and are engaged in the process, then that's when change comes. Now switch over the legs. Now bend your right or your left leg, put your left foot standing, have the right leg long, and now roll your pelvis. Start with a small movement. Don't do it because now you've been doing it with your right side of your lower back. Now roll the pelvis to the right. You're going to use the left side of your lower back to roll the pelvis over to the right. Remember to let your abdomen be free, right? So Feel how if you actually slightly push out your abdomen, again, don't force your abdomen out, but slightly push it out with your breath, and you'll feel that actually the back can engage more, the lower back can work more. So you roll the pelvis, pushing out the belly, and then come back. And again, don't keep your left knee directed towards the ceiling. Don't let it drop in to the right. Rolling your pelvis, feeling the use of your lower back, feeling how you can help with the left foot pressing through, making it easy, smooth. And all these movements will really give your pelvis more information to organize itself and really give your pelvis more efficiency and effectiveness in its movement, right? Because anytime you increase the mapping and organization of a body part, right, you increase the skill, you could say, of a body part, then it becomes more efficient, it becomes more effective. Nice. Okay, now just lie long for one last time. Let your legs lie long, arms long beside yourself. Feel your breathing. Feel the contact of your lower back and pelvis. See if that has changed for you. Feel if more of your lower back is in contact with the floor. Feel if maybe before, if there was one side of your pelvis that was lifted more than the other side, if that has evened out, if that's more equal for you. And then just one last time, bend your knees, put your feet standing, and try just rolling your pelvis up and down and see if that feels any easier than at the beginning of the lesson. See if you're doing more with actually less effort. There's more mobility, more movement, but with less effort. That's excellent. So that's the end of the lesson. So you can roll through your side, take a moment in sitting, and then come up into standing and see if you feel a difference in standing. Okay, so now that you've finished this movement lesson, I encourage you over the next few days to check out my other movement lesson on pelvis organization. And it's basically just a movement lesson on the upper pelvic clock. And so it builds on what you just did in this lesson, but it just is a little bit more complex and it adds a little bit more differentiation to the use of your pelvis. So check it out. Thanks for joining me for today's lesson at Move to Thrive. I hope it benefited you in some way.